Hi guys, my name's Arsh Ellahi, and today thank you very much for joining us for a very special webinar that we're running called Finding Deals in 2020, the Year of Opportunity. So I'm going to give you a bit of a background as to who I am, what I do, and more importantly, how I believe that everyone in the property industry or in the property space can take advantage of what I'm going to be talking about over the next year. So just giving you, okay, so brilliant. We've got everyone online, just so that you know, for the guys that have just joined the webinar, we've got, we're live on YouTube, we're live on Facebook, Instagram, as well as the webinar as well. So we've got a lot of people watching this session. So first of all, I want to say thank you very much for joining me this evening. The reason why I'm saying thank you is because Sunday evening, first Sunday of the year, and there's lots of things that we could be doing, but you've decided to spend some time with me this evening, and I'm going to make sure that the time that you spend with me this evening has been extremely worthwhile and definitely worth your while. So, what we're covering in this session, the title of the webinar was How to Find Properties in 2020. So, in 3 bullet points, I've put how we're going to get started in property with no money and no experience. Now, that's a massive claim. How can you get involved in property with no money and no experience? Seems too good to be true. And that's fine. You know, if you don't believe me, that's absolutely fine. And there's good reason for you not to believe me because it's an outrageous claim. Now, second thing is how to make cash flow from property by simply controlling property. So we're going to look at a couple of different strategies. We're not just going to focus on one strategy today. We're not just going to focus on how to find below market value deals. We're going to be looking at stuff like rent to rent options. Oh, bear with me, I'm just going to mute Jay. Right, so we're going to be looking at how we can make cash flow from simply controlling properties. And we've got some case studies as well today. And then finally, we're going to be looking at how to find deals, how to find vendors direct and negotiate the best deals. Because let's face it, if we can't find the vendors or we don't know how to approach agents, then we've got no chance in hell in being able to find and negotiate these deals. So we've got lots of things to cover in 90 minutes. So a little bit about who am I? So who is Arsh Ellahi and why do I have the pleasure of speaking to you this evening? Now, first of all, one thing that I'm going to say is that I'm not a person that's just been on a workshop and has decided to regurgitate some of the stuff that has come out of that workshop last weekend. There's lots of those people about. Now, I noticed that there are a couple of posts out there. I'm not going to get involved in this social, political area, but there's lots of people go out on workshops, learn something, and then try and regurgitate it, become an expert in it within the next week. That's not what I'm all about. Now, for those that know who I am, my name's Arsh Ellahi. I've been involved in property full-time for 19 years. I've been involved in property, you would say, pretty much all my life. So I've been involved in property pretty much 39 years. And yes, I am that young. Now, what makes me the authority in this field, very simply, is that I would like to, I know I'm the largest deal sourcer in the UK. So I'm the founder of the UK's first property investment app. So for those that don't know, it's called the Property Investor app. So you can go to your Google Play Store, you can go to your App Store, type in Property Investor, and you'll see an app which specifically focuses on property investment deals. Now, if you're looking for a deal, that's the perfect place for you because there's no longer the trawling through Rightmove, Zoopla, On the Market, etc., trying to find a deal, trying to appraise it. It's already there. We've created almost pretty much like a business in a box. So whatever you're doing, if you're on the session with us now, download, go to your app store on your mobile phone, whether you've got a mobile Apple device, whether you've got an Android device, whether you've got a Huawei or whatever they're called, and you go to your app store, type in Property Investor, and you'll see the app that I'm talking about. It's called Property Investor. Download it. It takes 2 minutes to register, and you'll see all the opportunities that we have right in the palm of your hand. Whether you're looking to buy a deal, whether you're looking to sell a deal as well, we've got the ability for you to sell your deals on the app. So I'm the only person in the UK to have such a facility, which means that I'm probably one of the powerfulest deal sources in the UK. So that's why you should be sitting here listening to me tonight. Second of all, well, first and foremost, should I say, I'm a property investor. I've been investing in property full-time for 19 years. I've got quite a large portfolio. I've got multiple hundreds, just over 1,000 tenants. And so I've got lots of benefit tenants, I've got lots of professional tenants. And so, you know, in that respect, you know, not only do I own property, I trade property, I understand property. And last year we traded 500 plus deals a year. So talking about authority, talking about an expert in the field, you know, I'm not a person that has just learned it yesterday. And as a result of that, I actually get to speak on a lot of the property circuits and some of the specialist shows like the landlord property investment shows, the landlord shows, etc. And I also write for two very well-known property publications in the UK. So that's YPN magazine, Your Property Network magazine, and the HMO magazine. So these are guys that I've been writing for pretty much 5 years on a monthly basis. I'm also an author of a book called Boom Bust and Back Again, which is an Amazon bestseller. It's something that I wrote and I released back in 2015. So it's pretty much, I can't believe it's been 5 years old, but it still sells very well, and it's on Amazon. So if you want to know a little bit about me and that what that book's all about, is a little bit about me and my journey, where I've come from, and as the title suggests, boom, bust, and back again. It's never always been an easy journey for me. So if you want to know, it's more, I would say it's a bit of an autobiography, but it's definitely an educational read for anyone that wants to know the warts and all approach to property. And then finally, I'm a property trainer. I've helped hundreds of people achieve financial freedom by teaching them the skills and the tricks that I've picked up over the last 20 years. So far, if you can just let me know if you like what you've heard so far. So Jay said, what's your view on new builds? Okay, great. So someone's saying, good evening. Can I watch this, or is this only audio? Can I watch this, or is it only audio? So just so you know, this is for the guys that are watching if you can't see my screen on the webinar, you should be able to see my screen. If you can, if you're on the webinar, just give me a quick yes to see that you can see my screen. That'd be great. You can see my slides. Brilliant. Okay, so everyone's saying that they can see my slides. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Instagram, you can't see my slides. That's why it's really beneficial for you to go off and now join the session by clicking bit.ly/2020 starts now. Right, okay, so let's get moving on. So what are your goals for 2020? And are you thinking of planning? What are you thinking of planning for your property journey for 2020 and beyond? And the reason why I say that, we always start with what is your why? What is your goals? Where, you know, what have you set yourself? What are the targets? Because everyone should have by now set themselves some goals and targets as to what they want to achieve within the forthcoming year and also the forthcoming decade. Because as the great saying goes, you fail to plan, you plan to fail. You know, admittedly, that's quite a common saying, but it's so true. What have you done to understand what you want to do? Where do you want to go? But more importantly, how do you get there? So I'm going to ask you to quickly type in a quick sentence, whether that be on social media or whether it be on the webinar. Just let me know, what are your goals for 2020? Is it that you want to hit a certain amount of properties? Is it that you want to buy a certain amount of properties? Is it that you want to understand how to acquire properties? Is it that you want to get to financial freedom? Is it that you want to build a sustainable cash flow model? Are you trying to build an asset class? Are you trying to secure your family's future? Are you trying to escape the rat race? There's nothing wrong with all these answers, by the way. Are you trying to make property pay for like luxuries such as holidays, etc.? Are you trying to get your kids onto the property ladder? Are you trying to get your kids through university? Are you trying to create a pension plan? There's nothing wrong with all these answers. But so if you can, just spend a minute just by literally going through and telling me, what is it that you want to achieve? So people are saying that I want to achieve financial freedom, purchase 3 or more properties, want to become a deal source, I want to get started, want to get my first rent to rent, I want independence. See, these are some of the comments that are coming through. Cash flow and financial freedom for my family, build a portfolio for my for retirement, lease options. My goal is to get sourcing 20 properties a month and understand property development, purchase my first piece of land in 2020. We've got so many answers coming through. Get to £6,000 a month, attend 50 networking events in order to educate myself. I have I have to have a passive income of around £3,000 a month. Okay, so we've got some phenomenal goals. Now we've set them out there, so we understand what the goals are. Next question is, how are we going to get there? There are so many in property. You know, to the untrained eye, if you were to say to an untrained eye and says, okay, I'm going to go buy property, to the untrained eye, that pretty much basically means that you're going to buy property, you're going to run it as a single let, you can let it out to a family, and it's going to make a bit of money. Now, what they don't know is all the tricks and the trades behind what I consider the underground of property. There is an underground of property. And these are where all these options, or where all these strategies come into play. Rent to rent, lease options, exchange and delay completions, you know, all the things where we can simply control without the need to own. And what we're going to be looking at tonight is how we can utilize this. Now, one of the things that I say is, how do you visualize success? Is it by owning a certain amount of properties? Is it by having the properties generate a certain amount of cash flow per month? And go back through some of the answers. Some people say, I want to own 3 properties. Some people say, I need £3,000 a month. Is it that I want to source a certain amount of deals? Now, just so that you know, one person has said that I want to source 20 properties a month. My question is, what are you going to do to get there? How are you going to get there? So let's go through, what is this? First of all, what is deal trading? The way that I consider it, very simply, and believe it or not, I'm a simple guy. I call a spade. And the way that I see deal trading is that we're pretty much a glorified estate agent. Let's not glorify ourselves any further than this. We are a glorified estate agent. We're a service we're in the service sector. So what that basically means is that we're a service for people who own properties. So if you guys own a property and I come and approach you and say, hi, my name's Arsh, this is who I am, this is what I do, I believe that I can sell your property. I'll always look at a property and think if I can buy it first myself, because that's one of the key things about deal trading. I get to see the best deals first. Now, second thing, as I say, well, if I can't buy it myself, I know someone that may be able to buy it, and that may be an investor. So I treat it as like a matchmaking service. Am I matching the investors to a property which homeowners have failed to sell? We're also doing a service to investors, helping investors find properties which they would not have previously found it without your help. How else would an investor in London been able to have found that property in Manchester, Grimsby, Liverpool, wherever it may be, Doncaster? Because what we're really doing is creating real win-win scenarios. And this is key, because we have to understand where we sit in the marketplace as deal traders. Now, there's certain analogies that you've got to become aware of. So are you a deal trader? Are you a deal sourcer? Believe it or not, they're the same thing. Are you a deal packager? You know, there's so many terminologies that get thrown about that sometimes I even get confused. But what we're in essence doing is finding a property from the vendor, packaging it in the middle, and selling it onto an investor. Let's not make it any more complicated than that. I believe in A, B, C. A is the vendor, B is you in the middle, and C, you are instrumental to the whole process. Without you, the vendor won't sell their property. Without you, the investor won't know about the property. So therefore, you've got to be able to earn your keep or show the value in that property. And therefore, you've got to be able to charge a fee for that service. There's so many posts on social media that say, well, why should I pay a fee for this from a deal sourcer? My honest answer is, if you don't want the deal, don't buy it. There'll be lots of other people that will buy it. And I sell deals every day. I'll talk to you about my goals in a second. I've listed my goals on here. Now, my slides are very powerful tonight. For those that are watching the webinar, they will see that I've put up a crazy claim. 2019, I traded £54 million worth of property. £54 million worth of property. That's properties that I do not own, got no intention of owning, simply controlled and traded. Think about that for a second. Who else? Some people will never own £54 million worth of property in their life. I did that in 1 year, in 2019. It actually equates to 510 properties. So I hit my target. Last year, my target was 500 properties. Tick, done, dusted. We sold more than most estate agents would sell in a year. And this is me acting as a one-man band, selling deals to his database. So I like to think I'm pretty much a down-to-earth guy. You tell me someone else in this industry that has done that by themselves. So when we're talking about authority, if you want to know about deal sourcing, you are in the right place. Now, my goals. 2020, welcome to a new decade. Just so that you know, my goals for this year, last year we traded 510 deals. Guess what, guys? This year, my goals are to trade 1,000 properties. I want to trade 1,000 properties in 2020 and to become the largest well-known deal trader in the UK. That's a massive claim. That's an absolutely huge claim. So I want to trade 1,000 properties. I'm doing this publicly. But believe it or not, I'll need your help. So if you're watching this, we're going to cut off the social media in a couple of minutes. So if you're watching the webinar, if you're watching the social media live, you need to jump on the webinar by going to bit.ly/2020 starts now, and we're going to start. So in 2020, my goals are to trade 1,000 properties in 2020 and become the largest well-known deal trader in the UK. Now, I also posted on social media today that I've got some fitness goals that I want to achieve. I've had this niggle, I've had this itch to want to do some extreme fitness events. So I decided to throw myself into an Ironman. So a full Ironman, which is happening in July 2020 in Bolton. And that is where I do a 2.4 mile swim in open water, followed by a 112 mile bike ride, followed by a 26.2 mile run, so equivalent to a marathon. So that's happening in July. So that's my goal. But believe it or not, today my wife threw something else. She goes, Arsh, she goes, I know you're going to smash that. So she goes, I'm going to throw you some extra goals in. She went and booked me another Ironman for February this year in Oman, Muscat. So not only have I got to now up my training, I've now got to get ready for February to train in extreme heat. So that's another challenge, where that's a 1.2 mile swim, followed by 56 mile bike ride, followed by 13.1 mile run. So again, it's a challenge. So I'm going to do the half Ironman in Feb. I'm going to do the full Ironman in July. And in between that, she wants me to do a marathon in Paris. And I think I'm doing that in April. So they're my three fitness challenges. So not only have I got to be physically fit, I've got to be mentally fit, because to get through that, I'm going to have to need some mental strength to get me through that process. So when we talk about goals, you've got to set your goals so high that they scare the living daylights out of you. If your goals don't scare you, they're not a strong enough goal. So I've seen some of the goals of some of the people. Some of these goals are really great. You know, £6,000 a month, that's £72,000 a year. That's a great goal. You know, that would scare a lot of people. So when you're thinking about your goals, you've got to really think, have you set them high enough? Have you set the bar high enough? Right, guys, on that note, I'm going to finish all social media. So if you're watching on Instagram, you're watching on Facebook, you're watching on YouTube, now's the time for you to log onto the session, onto the webinar. So I'm going to say thank you very much for being with us, and I will speak to you all soon. Take care. Good night. God bless. Right, guys, thank you. Right, we're on the webinar. thank you very much. We're solely on the webinar, and so hopefully you've enjoyed the content so far. So they're my goals. My goals, extreme, to the point, and my goals are extreme, to the point, but believe it or not, do you believe that they're achievable? You know, by all means, say yes or no. Or do you think I'm absolutely crazy? Would you guys set yourself these goals? Because I need a challenge. I need that challenge to be able to say to myself, you know what, in 2020, I did that. I started the decade with some phenomenal goals. And there's, you know, that's me, unfortunately. I don't do things by halves, unfortunately. And hopefully you'll see that in the way that I approach the property business. So straight away, I'm going to throw you into a testimonial by a couple, by Colin and Angie Leslie. And the reason why I did that is because when these guys approached me and they said, Arsh, I want to get involved in property, they're quite a shy couple. And I thought, are they really going to be able to go out and make a dent in the property world? So they joined the EPT in June 17 with little to no knowledge of property investing, and certainly no knowledge of deal sourcing. With Arsh's teachings from the weekly webinars, we learned so much about investing in property and all the strategies out there. We've completed on 2 deals, so they've done, you know, they've done a couple of deals as well as all the other bits that they've done. Given our personal circumstances during our time with Arsh in the EPT, and Arsh's relentless efforts to get them over the line has been incredible. Now, I was quite proud when I read this. Arsh is the real deal, and we're really proud to call him our mentor. As he always says, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And the one thing I will say to everyone that's on this webinar is that if you're thinking that this is a get-rich-quick scheme, unfortunately, you're on the wrong place. I don't believe in get-rich-quick. What I believe is education to get you to a point where you understand everything to do with property and treat property as a marathon, not a sprint. We're looking forward to a very prosperous 2020 as a plan to start an investing journey. If you're still unsure and you have the fear of the unknown, don't worry, just lean into the fear a little. It's amazing what can happen. That's from Colin and Angie Leslie in Scotland. So thank you very much for that if they're online. So I'm going to give you a bit of a case study. So we're talking about where we can find property deals. We're going to be talking about how we structure deals. And here's a property that came to me, believe it or not. I think I did a YouTube video on this at the end of last year. This one was a property that came to me on the 23rd of December 2019. Now, it came to me from a tired landlord that came to me and said, Arsh, he goes, I've got this property, you know, I've been meaning to do something for years, been empty for 3 years. He goes, I don't have the funds to do it. He goes, but, you know, I had a housing association in the property. They've left it in a bit of a state. I don't have the money to do with it. It's costing me money because I'm paying the council tax and all the utilities on it. What can you offer me? So I went round and viewed the property on the 23rd of December. And believe it or not, it's a 6-bed HMO and a 1-bedroom flat. Now, the reason why I like this property so much and the reason it came about is because I've actually got a 10-bed HMO right on the opposite side of the road. So this was perfect for me because whilst, you know, I always say that if you're going to take one property on, you might as well take on the whole street because you're going to be on that street anyway. You're going to have to visit that street anyway to come and do check-ins on your tenants, viewings, etc. So why not take more properties on? That's my mindset anyway. So we agreed a deal with this landlord where we agreed a 7-year rent-to-rent deal. But I said to him, you know what, this property needs, you can see from the picture, it looks a bit derelict. It's got old fridges on the outside of the building. God knows how long they've been there. The bins are overfilled. You know, he's not been there for a long time. The door's got padlocks on it, hasn't got proper handles. So you can see that it's had some real issues. And I said to him, well, you know what, for me to do this, I'm going to need a rent-free period. And he goes, well, how long were you thinking? And, you know, to be fair, I've been in scenarios where I've actually asked for 12 months rent-free period. Now, some of you will be thinking, why would a landlord do that? Why would a landlord give you a rent-free period? Not only that, is he giving you a property to rent, but he's also giving you a rent-free period. Let's look at the other alternative here for the landlord. What's his alternatives right now? What is his alternatives right now? His alternatives is that I don't take it on and it's going to be sat empty for probably another couple of years. Yes, he might find someone else, but have they got the credibility? Have they got the, can they do the work? Can they do what I say I'm going to do? I'm going to bring the property to standard. There's no mortgage outstanding on the property, so I could potentially use this as a service accommodation angle because it's so close to the city centre. I could use this as a HMO. So there's multiple angles for it. So I said to him, I'm going to want a 3-month rent-free period. And we agreed a rent, off memory, I think it's £900 a month. Now, he said, I'm not sure if I want to sell the property. And I said, well, okay, I never try and push the option to purchase. But he says, well, if we do sell, we've got to agree that I will have the first option, and we've got to agree that with the fact that I've bought the property up to standard, that I will have to buy it at a certain percentage below market value. So this has already gone into the contract. So if he sells, I'm going to have it at a certain percentage below market value. On average, I try and put in roughly around 20% of the market value at that time. I want a 20% discount at that time. And we believe that the average cash flow, working on very pessimistic figures, will be around £1,200 a month. If we're being optimistic, we'd like to think around £1,500 to £1,600 a month. But in this location, depending on room rents, we would achieve circa between £3 to £325 a month per room, plus the 1-bedroom flat, which is approximately around £4 to £450 a month. So they're the kind of figures. Now, why I like deal sourcing, very simply, is because when I saw this property, when I've been going to my property over the road, the 10-bed HMO, I've been thinking, yeah, you know what, that house has been sat there derelict, it's been sat there derelict, it's been sat there derelict. And as a result, I now said to him, you know what, I'm now going to start sending this guy letters. And I kept sending him letters month after month after month, find out who owns the property, and by simply going to land registry. So I went to land registry, I put in the full address, and it told me that Mr. Singh owns this property. It says Mr. Singh, so the property address is number 123 ABC Street, but Mr. Singh lives at number 789 Bright Street. Let's just call it Bright Street for argument's sake. So the property address is the property in question that you want to take on. The Bright Street is where the actual owner lives. So you can literally download the title register, which is going to cost you £3 from land registry, and you can find out where the owner lives. Now, just that's not rocket science, everyone can do that. And I kept writing to him, and eventually he called me, he goes, Arsh, I've been getting your letters, I've been meaning to call you, but something's always come up, etc., etc. I said, okay, great. Doesn't matter when he calls me, as long as he calls me. Off the back of that, we opened up a dialogue. I met him at the property, and as a result, I told him what I can do, I told him what I can offer, and we instantly shook hands. He gave me the keys the same day without even signing the contract. Now, that's quite common for me, but if I was to go to an estate agent and say, you know what, guys, I'm looking at this property, can I take the keys today? They'd tell me to get out of the office. But the beautiful thing with deal sourcing, especially if you're direct to the vendor, is I've walked away with the keys the same day without even signing a contract. The property was initially offered for sale, but we structured it as a rent-to-rent deal. Now, this would not have been possible if I did not have the skills to source deals. Now, second property, I'm quite proud of this property, if I'm honest. Now, this is, again, one of mine. Now, this is a property in Cornwall. Now, just so you know, this is a deal that Colin and Leslie bought me, so one of the guys in testimonial. Colin came to me, he goes, Arsh, I've come across this deal, and believe it or not, he saw this, I think it was on Gumtree. And he goes, Arsh, I've seen this deal, and I've been speaking to the owner. He goes, it's in Cornwall. And straight away, I thought, okay, I like Cornwall. I've been there a few times, and I've always seen myself as having a holiday home down there. And I said to him, okay, what's the deal with the owner? What's the scenario? Why is he selling? Because at the time, Colin was presenting this to me as a below market value opportunity. He believes it was valued at 270, and he was, at the time, I think Colin managed to negotiate down to 190. And I said to Colin, you know what, to be fair, that's a good discount. And I said to Colin, what is the reason for the sale? Why does the vendor want to sell? Why is he offering you such a good discount just off a first conversation? He goes, Arsh, the guy lives abroad. He goes, he had this property, he had a property manager, the property manager is no longer around, and therefore the property sat vacant. And I said to him, well, would it be worth having a conversation where I could speak to the owner and see if I could potentially do almost like a rent-to-rent on it and offer him a guaranteed rent? He goes, well, we can try. So we set up a Skype call with the vendor, who, believe it or not, is based over in Tokyo. English guy, very nice guy. And within a conversation, I said to him, here's what I think I can do. I understand that you want to sell. That may not be the best option for the vendor. Now, just so that you know, it's all about creating a real win-win scenario. If you're there just to rip the back legs off the vendor, you're in the wrong industry. Well, sorry, you're in the industry for the wrong reasons. And I'll say that without, without any doubt, because if you're there just to try and screw the deal out of the vendor, it's not a nice place to be. And I used to be like that, believe it or not. But I learned that, you know what, you get so many more deals done when you understand the benefits of a real win-win scenario. So I said to him, I'll tell you what, there's no point you selling me the property today for 270 because you're taking a massive loss. However, if you allow me to structure the deal in a way where I can create a real win-win, you're not going to take a massive hit, you're going to make an income, and as a result, everyone wins. He goes, okay, I'm open to some form of negotiation, or open to some form of option. So I proposed an offer where it was a 10-year lease option. So we rent it for 10 years with the option to purchase. It's a holiday cottage, which suits me perfectly because I've already got my main residency back in Wolverhampton. Off the back of that, we structured it where I could continue to use it as a holiday let. So we've now got it let on Airbnb. We charge approximately £1,975 a week in the location. So it's in Truro. So by all means, go to the website, tincroftcottage.co.uk. You can see we did a little bit of work to it to bring it up to a high standard of accommodation because I want to go and stay there myself. So I want it a second holiday. I want it as a second home for me in the UK. So if I have a tough week at work, I can jump in the car and be there within 4 hours. So off the back of that, we now cash flow around £2,000 a month on the occupancy of around 50%. So we've been extremely cautious. And again, this was offered to us as a sale, but structured as a lease option. Again, it wouldn't have been possible if I didn't have the skills to source these deals. Okay, so Eamon says, how did you find this deal? What kind of sources do you use for finding deals? Okay, we'll be going through that in a short while. Okay. So why I love deal trading. Let's go back through to why is it that you should consider deal trading. First of all, you get to see all the best deals first. I've just given you 2 examples of properties that have come across my desk. And straight away, the first thought that crosses my mind is that, do I want this for myself? Absolutely, because let's face it, I can tell you about deal after deal after deal where we've bought properties, at 30%, 40%, 50% below market value, and we've still created real win-win scenarios. With deal sourcing, if you've decided that you've got no ambition to become a landlord, don't worry because you don't have to deal with any tenants, which means that you also then don't have to deal with any maintenance calls. If you're listening to this webinar, please feel free and just give me a quick yes if you like dealing with tenants or if you've had any maintenance calls, issues over the holiday period, because there will be some people that would have been called out at midnight or 1 o'clock or 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. With deal trading, deal sourcing, there's none of that because, believe it or not, you don't own any of the properties. You're literally facilitating the sale of the property, which means that there's no bank borrowings. So if you've got adverse credit history or you've had an issue with some finance in the past, it doesn't matter. With deal trading, it very simply is a case of you don't need finance, so you don't need to worry. And that's why some people like this. It's pretty much 100% hands-free investing because you're not dealing with the property, you're literally controlling the property. and you're not tying up any money. And one of the things that I really like about deal trading is the fact that you can deal with any property in any town, city, or even country. And the reason why I put country in the back there is because I'm currently negotiating on a property in Dubai. I'm considering taking a property on in Dubai on the same promise as the one that I've just done in Cornwall. So not only will I have a holiday home in, not only will I have my main residence in Wolverhampton, I'll have my holiday home in Cornwall, and I'll also have a holiday home in Dubai. And so I can literally go from place to place, have a house in certain locations, providing that they're paying for themselves. I'll have free homes to go and visit. And it can be started and stopped whenever you require. You know, if you decide that you've got something going on, you've got a family event coming on in that month, and you don't want to work over Christmas, you literally don't approach any properties, so you stop. But believe it or not, I never stop. Even over Christmas, over New Year, we still trade in properties. And it can be done anywhere around the world. All you need is a mobile phone and a laptop. Now, I say this very openly. You don't need to visit any of the properties that you don't need to visit any of the properties that you source or you trade. This sounds crazy to a lot of people, but out of the 510 deals, I probably visited 5, if that, less than 1%. I don't need to. I make the vendors, I make the agents do all the work. I'm the person that just does the facilitating. And sourcing does not just have to stop at property. The skill, once you've learned it correctly, can be used to source almost anything. Now, I've got a relative who has a car sales business, and he was buying all the cars. I said, well, how much stock have you got tied up in cars? He goes, well, at any one point, I've got best part of 100 to 200,000 pounds worth of stock, because each car was on average between 10 to 15 grand. I said, that's crazy. I said, so you're sitting on all this cash and all this stock, and let's face it, all the cars that they have to buy outright. So we set up a service pretty much like deal sourcing, but for the car industry. And it works extremely well. I could give you multiple opportunities, multiple businesses that operate on a no-risk basis. Give you great examples. Uber. Uber does not own any taxis. Airbnb does not own any accommodation. Facebook does not own any content. Does that make sense? So we've got to get into this frame of mind as to we don't have to own everything. We can literally facilitate and become the facilitator. Now, why I really love deal trading is because when I buy properties, the bane of my life is solicitors. They try and screw up every deal, even though I'm paying them to screw up my deal. But there are no solicitors, there are no mortgage surveyors, no refurbishment works, no builders, no contracts, and as I said before, no tenants and no maintenance calls. And there is no risk because you don't own anything, so therefore there's nothing that can go wrong. And just to give you an example, now remember I said earlier that there's 3 people in the equation. There's a vendor, there's me, and then there's a purchaser. If I agree a deal with the vendor, when I go to the vendor, I'll say to them, guys, okay, I pretty much sit as pretty much the same as an estate agent. You're going to give me your property that I'm going to try and sell, but there's no guarantee that it's going to sell. I'd like to think that I sell a very high percentage of the stuff that I put out, and believe it or not, I'll only try and take on stuff I know that I'm going to sell, because if I don't sell it, I'm not doing a service to anyone. I'm running around trying to make something happen, knowing that it's not going to sell, which means that I've then become a busy fool. And more importantly, I'm giving the vendor a lot of false promise or false hope, shall we say. And if you take a property on, and the first deal that you do may be one where you will just take on any property because the vendor said yes to you. But if you decide to take a property on and then it doesn't sell, you just got to go back to the vendor and say, you know what, guys, okay, we've tried, but this one didn't sell. And this is your opportunity now to go back and renegotiate. So, okay, we had it at 250,000. we've put it out to a database and it hasn't sold, or we've tried to sell it, etc. You know, the reason why I think it hasn't sold is because this, and this. You know, I think if we could get it for circa 240 or 230, perhaps, we may have a better chance. And this has happened. You know, I'm not going to say that we sell it every time, first time. I'm not here to sell the dream. Things happen even in deal trading, but I have far more success than I have of issues. That's why I love it. So the reason about deal trading that I also love is the fact that regardless of what happens in the financial markets, I will never be touched. Now, just to give you an example, if you own a property and you're on a variable rate mortgage, your mortgage payments will fluctuate according to the Bank of England base rate. However, with deal trading, there is none of that because you've got no finance, or you don't actually own the property. And however, what you would do is that your prices would fluctuate according to the market. So if the market has dipped by 20%, guess what? So do your prices. In the boom, in the the boom and the bust, in the boom, sellers are in control and the prices continue to increase. So they may turn around and say, oh, okay, you know, it was worth 100 grand today. 3 months later, it's worth 105 or 110 because it's gone up. We adjust our pricing accordingly. In the bust, buyers are in control as properties struggle to sell. How many times have you been to an auction and seen properties being sold for next to nothing, or you've gone to a property and you thought it was worth 100,000, someone's bought it for circa 60,000 because the sellers just need to sell. And then you, as a trader, you adjust your pricing according to the economic climate. If you know something's going to struggle to sell, if you know that you've taken a property on which is a prefabrication, or you've got something that's unmortgageable, it's got a mine shaft in the back garden, or you know that it's got a structural issue, you price it accordingly. You price it according to the market. So if it's structural and it's unmortgageable, it can only be cash buyers. Therefore, cash buyers want a discount. You've got to price it accordingly. And this is where some estate agents fail, believe it or not. I'm hoping that you find this information. You're finding this information. I'm hoping that you find this information. Are you finding this information interesting, by the way? Please feel free to say yeah or no. That's great. And then we're going to go into this thing, the thing that everyone's talking about, the thing that's done my head in for the last few years, Brexit. Now, from a deal trader's point of view, Brexit is phenomenal. And I say this because we're taking advantage of some gloom in the marketplace. And it makes me sound really unsympathetic. But since Brexit has come in, my deal trading business has gone through the roof. As we've had so many opportunities thrown at us, so uncertainty in the market, what's going to happen to property prices? We've already seen London take a dip by 20%. Now, before, London was untouchable. Now we've got a 20%, which pretty much brings us on even keel with the rest of the country. That bubble has burst. The introduction of Section 24, if you don't know what Section 24 is, I'm not going to cover it now, but by all means, Google it and check what it's all about. Section 24, where the mortgage interest relief rate could no longer be considered a cost and will be considered part of the profit as well, means that it's going to push more people into higher tax brackets. And we're finding lots of people exit the property investment market. So therefore, the uncertainty in the market is bringing a flood of properties into the market. Now, Section 24 was meant to bring more properties on for more home buyers to buy. That was one of the reasons for Section 24, bring more properties back onto the open market for buyers to buy. But let's face it, buyers can't afford to buy because prices are still steadily increasing, which means that, they can't afford, they haven't got the funds to purchase. Interest rates, we're still at quite a low level. What's going to happen with those? It's got to be a certain matter of time. And I personally believe that when Brexit comes into play and we actually leave, the government will address that. So I know lots of landlords who are on 85, 90% loan to value and are literally making some money because the interest rate is so low. Once the interest rates rise, that will put pressure on their portfolios and they've got no option but to sell. And then the economy. How will the UK adjust after leaving? These are all uncertainty parts of the markets. And if you watch the financial markets, just so you know, I'm not an economist. I'm not an economist. I don't actually watch the news. I don't believe in, we're hearing about all the doom and gloom, but unfortunately, there are parts where you'll see it on social media and you do read the occasional things. And these things are phenomenal for the opportunist, people like me, that are the traders that can go out and pick up the deals. So you'll see on the app that we're getting deals like 30, 40% below market value. We've got landlords willing to dispose of them tomorrow just to get out of the property market. We've got landlords facing all kinds of difficulty that they're going to the NLA meetings, the RLA meetings, the Section 24 is scaring the living daylights out of them. It's going to push them into a higher tax bracket, which means that their properties are now going to be they're not going to be financially viable, so therefore they're selling. And we're structuring them in all kinds of deals, and it's working phenomenally well. And when I say that, it actually makes me feel bad because it actually makes me sound like a bad person. But all we're doing is we're taking advantage of what's going on in the marketplace. Now, going on to deal sourcing. As I said, it's a phenomenal time. And with deal sources, with deal trading, there's 3 people involved. Remember I said A, B, and C? A is the vendor. A, the vendor, is the person that needs help selling their property. Where previously an agent may have been previously trying for the last 3 months. So agent, let's just say Connell's gone to a property, said, okay, Mr. Smith, your property is worth £100,000. We're going to put it on the market for 105, maybe 110, with a view of achieving the £100,000. The vendors give it to the estate agent. The estate agent's been marketing it. They've put it on Rightmove. Just so you know, Rightmove is predominantly aimed at home buyers, not investors. It just so happened to become a tool for investors. So home buyers are looking at it, and if there's properties that got cracks in there, if there's properties that are unmortgageable, it's the wrong place for it. So the property is doomed to fail from day one. So after 3 months, the vendor said, you know what, I'm struggling. And that's where you as the sourcer come in. You've been watching this property, the price is dropping every month. So it's gone from 110 to 108 to 105 to 103 to 100 to possibly even 90. You've been tracking this property. And if you haven't, you should be. I set up alerts for most areas in the country, and I can see the prices dropping daily. I can see properties that the prices are being readjusted. And because you're the sourcer, you're the one with the property experience, you're the one with the investment knowledge, you're better at understanding investment properties and matchmaking to the right investor. So when you go to Mr. Smith, you can say, you know what, I understand why it didn't sell. It was priced too high, it was in the wrong category, got put onto the wrong portals. Let me structure it in a manner where it's going to create a real win-win scenario, and let me see if I can sell it. And generally speaking, when I put stuff up, I generally sell it within the space of around 3 days. So the investor purchases a property off you, which meets their criteria, and pays you a fee for your service. So we've got the vendor, sourcer, and the investor. Now, why would a vendor give you their property below market value? Why? Because you guys, as deal sourcers, need to understand two things. Every vendor has some level of pain and motivation. And I say this, I use the 2 words, pain and motivation, pretty much every day of my property career. Why are they selling? If they've got a ready-made HMO that's producing 30,000 a year, why do they need to sell? Surely that should be covering itself plus making some cash flow. Why are they selling? Now, one thing that I will say on this webinar is that, and I've never said this before on a webinar, price is not the most important factor when you're dealing with a vendor. Does everyone understand that? Just give me a quick yes or no. Give me a quick yes or no, just to let me know that you're still awake, by the way. I've been talking for quite a while. So, okay, so a lot of people say no. A lot of people say no, you don't understand that. That's fine. Okay, just so you know, price is not the main factor when a vendor is selling the property. The circumstances behind it are the real factor as to why they're selling. So a HMO may be sold because they've just had a bad experience with a tenant. They've had to evict a tenant. There's been some damage caused to the property. There's lots of reasons. They've got a failing agent. The agent's not looking after the property. We've got all kinds of issues. They've moved away, etc. These are some of the real reasons why people sell their HMOs pretty much on a day-to-day basis. So money and price is probably one of the factors, but is not the most important factor. Now, you as a sourcer, you've got to understand, how is it that you can add value to this property? Why does the owner need to? Why does the owner still need to deal with you? Why does he need to deal with you? What are you going to bring to the property that the estate agent hasn't been able to do? And then finally, the investor, why would they buy this property? So you've got to sit there pretty much with three hats on. The vendor's hat. Why would the vendor deal with me? Now, me as a sourcer, what can I do to this property to make it attractive to the buyer? And then the buyer, why would I buy this? So you've got to, you've got to sit there and think, well, can I make this happen? Absolutely, you can. So the methods to source deals direct to the vendors. So just so that you know, I'll put social media up there because, believe it or not, a high percentage of the population is on some form of social media, whether it be Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. I don't really use Snapchat, so I can't say that Snapchat does. But you will find, so first thing that generally speaking, first thing that I do is that if I can find a name of a vendor, I would try and check them out on social media. Pretty much like a job interview. Do you know that when you go to a job interview, as soon as you send someone their CV, they will pretty much check out your social media profile to understand who you are, what you're all about. Same thing that I do with vendors. I try and get an understanding or try and contact them directly by social media because I'll get a quicker response than I would do if I was to write them a letter. Does that kind of make sense? The next thing that I do is that if I haven't had no response, one thing that we always do is that if there's a for sale board gone up for a property, we will write out to that property pretty much, and we'll keep writing out to them until they come back to us. So it's called, it's a letter writing process. So you write to them approximately 3 to 4 times before they come back to you. You can meet vendors, believe it or not, at networking meetings and on property forums. Let's face it, guys, if I'm going to be completely blunt, everyone in a property forum is a property vendor. They own a property. Some of them are sharing their pain. Some of them are sharing their pain with you live on Facebook. Give you an example. HMO landlord. HMO landlord is on let's say a HMO Facebook group, and he's gone, tenant has just trashed my property. This, that, and the other. It's going to cost me approximately £10,000 to do back up. For me, that is literally instant, almost like a fire engine siren going off. Thinking, okay, this guy's got some pain. Instantly, within 2 minutes, send them a message. Would you like to have a chat about your property? You know, there may be some options there I might be able to help you with. Blah 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 blah. Have you got a phone number that I could contact you? guaranteed that if he's got some form of pain and motivation, he's going to send me his number and we're going to have a chat within the next 10 minutes. So don't discount social media and property forums and networking meetings. Now, leaflets are still fantastic methods. Now, but the one thing with leaflets is that leaflets and letters is that you never know when you're going to get a response. So with leaflets, you've got to put out 100,000 leaflets every month, and then you've got to literally wait for the phone to ring. With my methods of sourcing, I'm the person making the call, not waiting for the person to call, if that makes sense. I'm the one that wants to make the call and be in control of the call, as opposed to wait for the phone to ring. I'm making the call. So there's also supermarket segments. You can source properties according to the supermarkets in the area. Have you noticed that Waitrose will only go in certain areas? Netto and Aldi will only go in certain areas. Sainsbury's will only go in certain areas. Why do you think that? So if you're trying to source properties which are of a lower end, you go to areas where Aldi and Netto are, and even possibly Asda, depending on the location. So in Wolverhampton, Asda is right in the heart of the affordable housing or the investment style stock of Wolverhampton. Waitrose is more of the affluent side of Wolverhampton. So you've got to take these into consideration. And then finally, yes, you can deal with estate agents, auction houses, letting agents. And I would strongly urge that you do speak to these people, because if you create the right relationship with these guys, you will never have to send out a leaflet or a letter again. And I speak openly about that. You create the right relationship with an estate agent, you create the right relationship with a letting agent or an auction house, you will never have to send a letter or a leaflet out again, because they will be sending you deals day in, day out, day in, day out. So property portals, all the information you require is online. So if you want to go direct to vendor, all you've got to do, I'm not teaching you how to suck eggs here. Literally, let's just treat Wolverhampton as an area. You go on Rightmove, Zoopla on the market. You type in Wolverhampton, you'll see, God knows, tens of thousands of properties up for sale. Now, literally, you could, in the area where it says, I want to target a certain, you could find out where Asda is, get the postcode for Asda and do a half-mile radius of where Asda is. And as a result, or you could have a look where the university is. What surrounds universities? HMOs surround universities. So literally, you could find the HMO, you could find the postcode for a university. As a result, do a mile radius of university. You'll find how many HMOs are for sale. Now, again, there's lots of other ways that you can approach this. You can go to the HMO register, you can go to the planning register. There's so many different ways of sourcing deals. Literally 90 minutes would never be enough for me to teach you that. I'm giving you the quick fire guide how you can do this today. Go to Rightmove, get the postcode for the university, do a half a mile or mile radius of the university. You'll see how many HMOs come up for sale. You start speaking to the agent, or you go and approach the vendor direct. That's up to you. Personally, I'd like to arrange the deal via the agent, because then, providing that I can create the right deal with the agents and make sure that they're not cut out the equation, they're going to send me deals every day, and I get deals from agents every day. And these are all the websites that you should be using: Rightmove, Zoopla, On the Market, Spare Room, OpenTree, Gumtree, and there's so many more that we could list. So I'm going to pass you over now to a young gentleman called Jay Uday. Now, did anyone see the email? Did anyone see the email that was sent out yesterday? I think it was yesterday, where Jay came and spent a day with me in the office on Friday. Sorry, the email was on Friday, where Jay actually came into the office and he spent a whole day with me, and he actually sourced 2 deals within the space of a couple of hours. So I'm going to pass you on to Jay. So, hi, Jay.
Hi there, Arsh. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Jay, thanks very much for coming online. So just so you know, guys, we're going to keep this short and swift and to the point. So, Jay, you came to spend the day with me on Friday. I think it's Friday the 3rd of Jan. Was that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Just this Friday gone actually. Yeah.
Do you want to just introduce yourself? Who's Jay? Where are you from? And what's your experience?
My name's Jay. I'm based in London. My background's in teaching, so I'm a teacher. In terms of property, I bought one residential property. So there's no experience in terms of sourcing, and I was looking for that sort of avenue. So I came across your content, and so I approached you in terms of joining the EPT, and yeah, so I took it from there basically, but no experience in sourcing. Prior to coming into your office in Wolverhampton
Okay, so tell
on
me about
Friday.
the day, Jay. So, tell me about the day. What was it you're hoping to expect from coming into the office?
I didn't know what to expect really in terms of coming into the office, but what I noticed straight away is that got me into like searching for the properties on Rightmove straight away. Creating a little spreadsheet of possible targets, and as you said, you got me to sort of kind of speak to the estate agents because they've got the stock. 90% of the stock the estate agents have. So I started to call estate agents in Stoke, and then immediately managed to get some sort of deal in Stoke, which was a 170k HMO 6 bedroom, and we managed to bring that down to 150k, and that was actually packaged. We packaged that deal up on that day to be placed on the actual portal, so that was almost instantly. And the amazing thing is that okay, if a HMO could be sourced in Stoke, I moved it over to Wolverhampton, and then made a couple of calls in Wolverhampton, and we found a landlord who was actually making very good money off the HMO in Wolverhampton. However, he was having to travel back and forth, and he wanted to get rid. And so, like, we managed to form a relationship with that estate agent in terms of packaging that HMO up, and sourcing that as well, which was absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. So, okay, so you negotiated two deals, so one in Wolverhampton, one in Stoke, off it, and so best part of £10,000 in fees. How's that make you feel?
Absolutely amazing, and also I've got 3 viewings of HMOs in Liverpool, so I'm actually going up to Liverpool tomorrow to form some relationships with some estate agents. I don't have to actually travel to Liverpool, but it's an opportunity for me to make some relationships, and that's all from that day in the office. So that made me see that in essence the deals are out there. The deals are definitely out there. So it's just a case of having the right guidance and having help with execution. Because if we're honest, there's lots of information going around about um, sourcing, but what's important is being able to have that help with executing, having the help with JVing and the weekly webinars, and that actual guidance to help you to really push a deal over the line, if you like.
Absolutely. And so, I said to Jay when he came the other day, you don't need to travel to other areas. Like I
You
said
don't.
earlier, you don't. It's very rare that I travel to see a property. If there's one in Wolverhampton and I'm in Wolverhampton, perhaps I may go along and see it, but the chances are that I won't attend.
Hmm.
I won't intend to go and to view a property. Now, Joe, if you had to give one bit of advice just before you shoot off, what is it that you would say? What was the main motivator? What is the one thing that clicked within you that said, you know what, okay, I get it.
Uh, the one thing that I actually got from yourself is not to overcomplicate things. Sometimes we can look for the perfect script or to say things inside the perfect way, but no, pick up the phone and have the intent to want to solve a problem. And I think, in essence, we looked at the 3 people in the equation, and the estate agents, they've got a problem. Like, they want to get their commission. The vendor has a problem. Like, they want to get their property sold, and the investor has a problem in terms of they want to, find a fantastic deal. So you, in essence, can help to solve 3 people's problems. And if you can do that, you can profit from that process. And I think you deserve to profit from that very process, because you're solving problems for 3 people. So don't overthink things, and aim to solve problems. And if you can serve enough people, then that's when the income starts to come your way, in essence. So it's just about being a problem solver.
Fantastic. Okay, Jay. Well, I'm looking forward to working with you.
Yes.
And
Yeah, for sure.
As I said to you the other day, I think you've got a great knack for finding properties. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the next 12 months hold for you.
Brilliant.
Meanwhile, keep me posted as to how you get on.
I will do, Arsh.
And then let's have a chat tomorrow. Is that okay, my friend?
Yeah, brilliant. Cheers, Arsh.
Before you go, just one other thing. Is there any questions that anyone wants to ask Jay whilst we've got him online quickly? Right, okay. So Emma says, do you still pay the agent their fee? So Emma, just so that you know, the vendor pays the agent their fee. We don't pay the agent their fee. Does that kind of make sense? Because the agent makes their money off selling the property. We make our money off selling the property to the buyer. So we make the money off the buyer, they make the money off the seller. So brilliant. Okay, what it says, Jay, okay, so Toby says, do you have the 10 grand in your account now? Just so you know, Toby, Jay could have the 10 grand in his account, but we always say that that 10 grand gets in his account on exchange of contracts, just in case the deal falls over and Jay runs away, which I'm not saying that he would. But I would always suggest that you get paid on exchange. Well, you can hold the money, but you don't spend it until exchange of contracts. Okay, so what inspired you to get into deal sourcing?
Myself, I really love the ability to help solve problems, and the whole idea of sort of kind of controlling property, like the whole Uber method, like being in the middle, not owning property, and then maybe 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, beginning to say, okay, I've sourced maybe 20 deals here. Let me start to maybe pick some of those deals for myself. So it's being able to sort of kind of, because it all begins with sourcing. So learning sourcing, and then along the line, being able to, create my own portfolio, but just starting with sourcing as a strategy.
Okay, so someone says, Jay has no experience. How do you know how to structure the deal? Was that after training? So, yeah, that's a great question, actually.
Structure the deal in what respect? In terms of the packaging a deal, or packaging it, or?
So I said, how do you structure the deal? I'm assuming like structuring it so that you knew how it works from a cash flow point of view, and also how to structure it as well.
Well, I think the amazing thing about being in the EPT is that all the training is given to you in terms of how to structure a deal. And during the Christmas holidays, what I was doing actually is I was going through lots of the deals that had been packaged up before, so maybe about 15 deals, just so I had an idea of what sorts of deals were really hot and what the investors really wanted. And I noticed that a lot of investors were after, getting properties in northern areas where they can maybe, put 50K into a deposit for a HMO and have that HMO, produce between 10K and maybe 15K net income, because we know maybe down in London, you might not be able to get that sort of return with 50K. So lots of investors in the South want to actually, get HMOs, property in the North, because of the higher yields. And if they can buy HMO that's ready made, even better, because they don't have to necessarily create the HMO license. There's a HMO running already that the landlord wants to sell for whatever reason.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Well, Jay, I'm just conscious of time, so if you can stay on the line, Jay.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah.
We'll have a lot more time for questions at the end. Is that okay?
I'll stay on. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
That's Jay. So Jay is still, believe it or not, in full-time employment. So this is something that he's doing on side. So someone said, what is the EPT? So one of the questions that has come through from Christian, he goes, what is the EPT? So just that you know, the EPT is something that I created called the Elite Property Tribe, something that I've been running for pretty much 3 years now. And what it does is that it allows you to work with me to source properties all over the country, and also gives you full access to me and my network of professionals. So it gives you access to my solicitors, accountants, brokers, and tax advisors. Now, what we do is that I provide a weekly webinar every Monday between 7 and 9 p.m, where we go through all the different types of deal sourcing. So how to find HMOs, how to find rent-to-rent deals, how to find lease option deals, how to find service accommodation deals, how to find development deals, and all the other strategies that go along with it. So not only is there 52 webinars, you've also got full exclusive live meetups that are held in Birmingham with keynote speakers. Now, one of the things that has become apparent from running the Elite Property Tribe is people like the thought of being able to call on someone and say, Arsh, I need your help. So that's why every day between Monday and Friday and 10 a.m. to 1 p.m, I run a daily call session with all my Elite Property Tribe members to discuss any property related questions. They also have access to my contracts, templates, and spreadsheets, and all the EPT members can sell deals to my database of 100,000 investors plus. Now, one of the questions that came through whilst Jay was talking was, where did Jay find the investor? Now, Jay sold it, believe it or not, to one of my investors. So he sold it to one of my investors. I literally picked up the phone to a couple of my guys, say, guys, okay, got a property deal here, it's got a property deal there, here's what it is, here's what it makes. And they said, yeah, okay, cool, we're good with that, and we sold it to them. So that's, that's what we're really moving quickly with. Now, one of the benefits with the EPT is that you don't have to make the mistakes that I've previously made, because you're working with someone that's got a proven success record and highly regarded in the industry. Now, if you want to know a little bit more about the EPT, I'll put a link at the bottom there. It's bit.ly/EPT info. EPT info all needs to be in capitals, just as it is at the bottom there. So keep moving on. So the Elite Property Tribe is a mentorship and accountability program where I want you to become the UK's best deal sources. I believe I've created the group of the UK's best deal sources already, where I will always be at your side, where we have weekly webinars every Monday between 7 and 9 p.m. And these are live webinars with me. So I'm not training someone to teach you how to learn about something. I'm the person that's training you. I also help with negotiations. So when Jay was in the office with me last Friday, Jay was kind of stumbling when he spoke to the agent with the property in Stoke. I literally came in on the phone call and said, guys, okay, this is who I am, this is what I do. Jay's one of my members, and as a result, this is what we can do. And that's how we got the deal over the line. Admittedly, if Jay was to tell you the truth as well, perhaps that deal wouldn't have gone as swimmingly if I wasn't there to probably help with that negotiation. You'll have my personal mobile number, and as we have an Elite Property Tribe WhatsApp group, we have an Elite Property Tribe Facebook group, which are private groups only for EPT members. We also have a learning journal so that you write down all your learnings on a weekly basis. I want to know how many people you're calling. I want to know what the follow-ups are. What deals have you spoken about? What happened to those deals when you spoke about, and what the accountability is? So when I say I want to see week 13 journal, I want to see how many people you've called. If you've not called anyone, I'll pull you up on that. Now, and I'll ask, okay, you want to become a deal trader, but you've not made any calls. It's not going to fall in your lap. Like I said at the start, we do not sell get-rich schemes. What I'm doing is I'm showing you skills that are going to be able to provide for you on a daily, weekly, and yearly basis. The EPT platform, Elite Property Tribe platform, has 400 hours worth of recordings that you can watch on a day-to-day basis. These are all previously recorded sessions. And then finally, like I said, we get quarterly meetups with keynote speakers. It allows you to become an all-rounded property investor, understanding every property, such a property strategy, such as deal trading, rent-to-rent, lease options, HMO, service accommodation, commercial to residential. I'll teach you how to source every single one of these styles of properties. If you want to know more about what the EPT is, you go to bit.ly/EPT info, and it will take you to a website that looks like this. So this is the Elite Property Circle. You've got a little video, you've got a little bit of information about what the tribe is, etc. And it tells you, it shows some people that we've got on there. And then if you do want to join, there's another link just at the bottom, which is bit.ly EPT 2020. And that will take you to, bear with me, that will take you to that page there, and it will allow you to join. So let's get moving on with some of the content. There's going to be an opportunity for you to ask lots of questions. So don't panic about that. I know some people come in and say, oh, I need to know about this, I need to know about that. Okay, so with the 52 weeks of online training, the full price of the whole workshop is £6,000. However, just so that you know that I've got trust in you, you join the EPT by paying just £3,000, which is equivalent to 50% up front. The remainder 3,000 balance is paid when you have succeeded and have done deals. So if you don't do any deals and you've just used this as a learning platform, you've paid 3,000, and the other 3,000 will never get paid. You can either pay it in one payment, or you can pay over three payments if you can't pay it in full from the start. Because you've got to do something today that your future self is going to thank you for. Now, just so you know, today we've only talking about going direct to vendor. If I was to say to you that you've got so many ways of sourcing deals. So you've got land deals, you've got development deals, you've got rent-to-rent deals, you've got lease option deals, you've got HMO deals, you've got below market value deals, service accommodation deals. These are all different property strategies, so there should never be a point where you should say, you know what, I'm kind of stuck. I don't know what I should be doing. And more importantly, because you don't have to be in the location. Today, you could be sourcing in Doncaster. Tomorrow, you could be sourcing in Scotland. The day after, you could be sourcing in Manchester. There's not a certain area, or there's not a certain time where you should be saying, you know what, I've got nothing to deal with. I've got no one to call. There's always someone to call. There's always something to deal with. You know, just to give you an example, there's the best part, statistics fail me now, but there's the best part of 200 auction houses in the UK. I've got all the statistics for all these. And just to give you an example, out of those 200 auction houses, each one offers around 100 lots. So 200 times that by 100, that's approximately 20,000 properties that get sold every month, or gets offered every month. Now, just so you know, the average sale rate is approximately 80%, between 70 and 80%, which means that 20% goes unsold. Straight away, you've got stock there that is sitting there waiting to be picked up and sold. There's reasons why it didn't sell, and we need to understand what that is. But more importantly, there's reasons why we could take it on, because plan A has failed. Plan A, where it was meant to sell in the room, did not happen. Therefore, we need to work on plan B, which is allow us to deal with it. And we'll make our money off the buyer. The auction house still makes their money off the seller, etc., etc. And everyone creates a real win-win scenario. Remember, we're not doing this to become the hero of the transaction. When I deal with an estate agent, the vendor doesn't even know who I am. All the vendor knows is that Connells have sold their property. Does that make sense? So therefore, in the vendor's eyes, Connells is the best thing since sliced bread. What they didn't know is that Connells didn't sell their property. I actually sold it. So we are the unsung heroes. Does that kind of make sense? But we don't need the fame. We don't need the fame. We don't need the publicity that we've sold the property. We know that we've sold the property. Just going, if you wanted to, and if you've got this much time on your hands, you're more than welcome to go into your inbox last year and see how many deals we actually sent you. And you'll see that we sent you well in excess of 500 deals, and 510 of them actually sold and were over the line and completed. Okay, so there's a couple of questions. There's a couple of questions. I'll come through some questions in a second. So I just want to share a couple of stories with you. So here's a guy called Chris Dawkins. Chris is actually based in Milton Keynes, and you can see him on the right-hand side. He's a larger-than-life character, fantastic guy. He goes, Arsh is a very inspirational guy in both his property business and his personal life. I joined the EPT in Feb 18, primarily for the benefit of my daughter, who had just started as my PA for my own property company. I soon realised that Arsh has a wealth of knowledge, and despite my years within the property sector, I was too learning more from the live events and webinars, as well as the amazing private WhatsApp and Facebook communities he has created, where everyone helps each other and many partnerships are formed. If you haven't already jumped on board, do it now. You will be happy. You will be very happy you did. And then finally, here's a young lady called Priscilla. She goes, since joining the EPT. So Priscilla is a stay-at-home mom. She has very little experience in property. She goes, I've learned all the property strategies to be confident in talking to anyone about them. I've met some great people who have become friends and colleagues. I'd recommend anyone that's serious about joining their career, making a career in property. Arsh is always available to guide you through any challenges, as are many others in the WhatsApp group. So we've got a real community there. Okay, so let's keep moving on. So this is the Property Investor app. So someone's just said, can you put the links back up? So the links are at the bottom there. If you want to know a little bit more, you go to bit.ly/EPT info, or if you want to join, you go to EPT 2020. So this is question time. This is question time. So ask away. So Namdi says, how much is it? So the cost of the whole EPT is 6,000, but you actually only pay 3,000 to start with, and the other 3,000 is paid when you do deals. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so one of the questions that keeps coming up here by Easton and a couple of guys is that, does each sourcer have to be compliant? Now, this is a grey area, because some people that you speak to will say that providing that you're working with a deal sourcing company, as long as the person selling the property is compliant, then you don't need to. My response to that is that everyone needs to be compliant in the whole process. The reason being is that you guys would be negotiating directly with the vendor. Whoever's negotiating with the vendor or the agent needs to be compliant. Does that make sense? So Jazz says, do you need a website to run the business? Now, Jazz, it's always good to have a website, even if it's just a one-pager. You always have a one-page website, just so that you can give yourself a digital presence in the marketplace. So if Jazz was to go to Connell's estate agents and says, hi, my name's Jazz, this is who I am, this is what I do, you present it with your business card, first thing that they're going to do, they're going to look you up. Now, when I speak to estate agents, they look me up pretty much every day. I can see how many people search for me every day. So you can see that people are looking for you and they're trying to check out your credibility. Now, your website can make you look a lot bigger than you actually are, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Does that kind of make sense? So it's always worth you doing a quick website. Okay, so Kenny says, can you repeat about what you said about being compliant? I would suggest that everyone that is sourcing needs to be compliant. It doesn't cost a lot of money to become compliant. You need to be a member of the Property Redress Scheme, which is approximately £100 a year. You need to become a member of the ICO, Information Commissions Officer, I think it is, officer, which is approximately £80 a year. You need to have some indemnity insurance policy, which, depending on the level of cover, you could get away with a couple £100 a year. And then you need to also become a member with the anti-money laundering regulations. You need to become a member by going onto the gov.uk website. And again, it varies as to what level of activity you say you're going to do, and they will generate the fees accordingly. Now, unfortunately, last year, the first year, I think I paid £80 off memory. The second year, because we did a level of activity, I think we paid the best part of £500. But again, you can go through that process with you. So Joe says, how do you calculate the deal sourcing percentage after processing the deal? Now, Joe, this is an interesting question, because believe it or not, there's no actual science to it. You can actually charge a percentage of the property value. So if the value was, let's say, £100,000, you could charge, like estate agents do, you could charge 2% of that, which is 2,000. Or you could look at the level of discount that you generate and a percentage of that. You could do it as a percentage of the cash flow. You could do a percentage of whatever the deal is. If you do it as a rent to rent, you do it as a lease option. There's all kinds of ways of calculating it, but it all depends on the deal. Generally speaking, I would say that a below market value deal is circa around 3 grand. The rent to rent deal is circa around 4 grand. Lease options around 5 grand. But again, all depends on how good your deal is. If your deal doesn't stack, it's worthless. And that's me being completely honest. Okay, so Gillian says, I'm not compliant, so how long will it take to get this compliance, and can I join the course then? Just so that you know, Gillian, you don't need to be compliant to join the course. You can do the compliance whilst you're running the course. And on average, it takes the anti-money laundering application takes the longest, because they'll ask you quite a few questions, and if you haven't answered all the questions, they'll keep coming back to you, and they're quite busy, so they've got backlog. But as long as you've got the application in, you should be fine to trade. So let's keep going through the questions. When you source from an agent, it's on the open market. So how do you sell it with no exclusivity or control? That's a question from Norman. Now, Norman, if you're selling a property on with an estate agent and it's clearly listed on Rightmove, Zoopla, on the market, etc., you are leaving yourself open for people to undercut you. So there has to be a level of exclusivity. If you haven't got that level of exclusivity, you are leaving yourself open for you to do a load of work and then not get paid for it. Because I could literally look at your deal within 2 minutes. I could find your property on with, let's say, Connells again. I could call up Connells, say, Connells, I understand that you've got this property on for 100,000, and if you've got it marketed at, let's say, 190, I'll say I'll offer 190 because I'm working on the understanding that you've negotiated 190, and then they've just walked away with your deal. You need to have exclusivity agreements in place. You need to have an option agreement in place, or some form of level of exclusivity to show that even if I was to call the agent, that they can't take that deal. But these are all the tricks that I'd have to teach you. Getting exclusivity on the deal is important, because the last thing that I want to do is ask you to go and do all the deal, or do all the due diligence on the property and then find that you're not getting paid for it. So Emma says, I've been given a rent-to-rent Manchester from an agent. Is it up to me to do a level of due diligence before selling it on? So Emma, if you don't do the level of due diligence, how do you know it's a deal? So naturally, you'll have to do some due diligence. So by all means, if you haven't downloaded my app yet, go to the App Store and type in Property Investor, and you'll see how much due diligence we actually do for each deal. It doesn't take, the first couple will take you a few hours, but the more deals you look at, the quicker the research process will become. And it will take you, on average, if you start to become a good sourcer, you should be able to clear deals, or have a look at a deal and appraise a deal within the space of 10 to 15 minutes. So yes, there always has to be a level of due diligence done on each property. Okay, so is living in an expensive area restricted to this, or can I source property anywhere from anywhere? Absolutely, Mark. Just so that you know, I've got people that source property from. So I'm not sure if you've ever watched any of my previous videos. I've got a guy that actually lives in Saudi Arabia that sources property in the UK. So he's not sourcing in his own country. He's sourcing in an actually different country. So, okay, if we sell the deal to your investors, how much percentage of the finder's fee do you take? Okay, so actually, that's a great question. Just so that you know, any deal that is put up on the app and sold to my investors, we do a 50-50 split basis. We work on a 50-50 split basis on the fee. So Joe says, can you explain rent to rent? Okay, so market. Okay, so Rory says, what marketing provides you with the best leads? Okay, so very good question, Rory, because we don't just stick with one strategy. The reason why I say that is because if we stuck with one strategy, we would become a one-trick pony. So when we put, let's just imagine, Rory, that you own a property, and you own a property, and I was to write a letter out to you asking you to, to sell your property to me below market value. It's very limited as to how much information I can put on that letter or that leaflet. So therefore, we approach lots of different avenues. So, if we can approach, we're looking for below market value deals. We're also trying to approach, we're understanding that more and more people are after lease options and rent to rents. So therefore, when we're speaking to a vendor, we're trying to convert them into a lease option or rent to rent. And the reason why we do that is because the deals go through a lot quicker. A normal standard purchase will take approximately 8 weeks. On a lease option, or a rent to rent, you can have it done within a couple of days or a week. So you've got to try and have a look. You said what marketing provides you with the best leads. Believe it or not, we do so much off social media. We do so much with agents, and we also do so many with leaflets and letters. So if you were to say what provides us with the best, it's a combination of all of them. Okay, so someone said, how do we sell deals to your list? Well, technically speaking, if you wanted to put it on the app, you'd have to email us, or if you contact me tomorrow with the information, I'll have a look at it. And then just so that I won't appraise your deal. It won't be for us to appraise it. You'd have to provide us with the information. Okay, so Madge says, when does the EPT 2020 begin? Just so that you know, Madge, the first webinar is actually the first Monday in February 2020. However, anyone joining will get access to the platform straight away, and will also be able to watch all previous webinars, download all the content from platforms such as documents, etc., documents, not floor plans. We've got flow charts, we've got documents, we've got the EPT journal, we've got 400 lots of webinars from previous years. So there'll be loads of stuff that you can start. So it doesn't just begin, it doesn't just start in February, you can start straight away. And we'll also have you added into WhatsApp group the same day. Can the webinars be rewatched as I work late on Mondays? All webinars and everything that we do in the EPT is all recorded and is all uploaded to the platform. Therefore, you can watch it whenever you like and as many times as you like. Okay, so Madge says, sounds great, I'd love to join. So Madge, to join, what you do is you go to bit.ly/EPT 2020, and I look forward to working with you. Okay, so is the 52-week deal trading course still available? This is it. This is it. The 52-week deal trading course is the Elite Property Tribe, and it is, you go to EPT 2020, and that's where you sign up. Okay, so would you have to register with Companies House? Jazz says. If you're operating as a business, then yeah, if you're setting up a limited company, then yes, you'd have to register with Companies House. You have to get the company set up as you would be running a business. This is actually a business opportunity. Okay, so just so you know, on the Elite Property Circle, we run different courses, etc. So there'll be one, the Elite Property Tribe is the one where it's 52-week program. There's another one which is just an online course. So the online course is where you don't get the support or the hand-holding process as you would with the Elite Property Tribe. Does that kind of make sense? So how do you help investors in securing mortgages, especially for complex properties like HMO, multi-unit and hybrid? Okay, so Ajay, just so you know, we've got brokers that I've been working with for a number of years who are specialist property investor brokers, or who only deal with property investment deals. And so what we do, we put them through the whole process. Every investor is different, and that would be, we're not FCA regulated, well, we're not FCA qualified or IFA, independent financial advisors, so we would have put them through to brokers and they would deal with that. So Beta says, after 52 weeks of training, are we still able to have access to the notes? Just so you know, Beta, we only charge a renewal fee of £300 for any following year. So you pay the 3,000 for the first year, and then every year thereafter is £300, and that just keeps our admin. If you don't go to a viewing, how are you able to secure negotiating the best price, i.e. structural damage? Okay, so just so you know, there's certain things that we do. So if you're worried about a property, etc., there's certain people that you can do. So Emma, if you're a sourcer, have you ever heard of a company called Viewber? Not Uber, which is a taxi company. There's a company called Viewber, VIEWBER. For argument's sake, for £30, if you're really concerned about the property, or if you've seen something in the pictures with an agent that you're worried about, you could get that company to go out there for £30 and do a whole inventory of the property. So you've got to question is, if I'm in Wolverhampton, the property's in Hull, how much time would it take me to go from Wolverhampton to Hull? Or could I go to Viewber, book someone to go and view it, and for £30, within the space of 24 hours, I'll get all the pictures and the video of the property. So there are things that you could do if you wanted to. So AJ says, how many properties do you think you can source a week? It all comes down to AJ, how much time are you going to implement into it, and it also comes down to how much time are you going, how well are you going to intercept the information. You know, one thing I'm saying is that I'm going to be teaching you how to do it, then you've got to go and implement it. So if you're ready to implement, if you're ready to learn it and do it, then we're ready to get you moving. I want to turn you guys into deal trading machines. That's my process. That's what I want to do. That's what I've made most success from deal trading, and also teaching people how to become deal traders. So, okay, so just so you know, how many EPT members do you have on this current program? So every intake, which is, we have an intake in intake which starts in Feb, and then the other intake that starts in June. We only ever take between 30 and 40 people, so it's not a massive group, and then everyone gets added into the WhatsApp group. Okay, so Gillian says, I didn't think you're allowed to buy a property without viewing it. I buy properties without viewing it pretty much most of the time. Okay, so Olu says, can you state the name of the company that look at the property again? It's Viewber, VIEWBER. Okay, I'm going to go through the questions. Okay, so Borush says, where do I find investors? Now, that's a great question, because you can, one of the things that I'd say to you is that the EPT is a great platform for you to get started, so that, if you haven't got the investors yourself, you leverage other people's investors, i.e. my investors. However, moving forward, the aim would be that you guys would build your own bank of investors. And this is one of the things that I'd be teaching you, how to package the deal so that the investors come to you and say, I want that deal. I want that deal. Does that make sense? Because that's where you want to be. You want to be in that position where investors are calling you and say, what deals have you got today? Or, can I have a look at that? Oh, okay, if I send you some money today, do you mind if I have a quick look at that? So, okay, so Sandra said, is there a page where all these bodies register for deal sourcing? Okay, Sandra, just to confirm, it's the Property Redress Scheme. Then you've got to go to the ICO, which is Information Commissions Officer, and then you've got to look for a broker, insurance broker that will deal with public indemnity insurance. And then you've got to go to the, if you type in anti-money laundering regulations, it'll take you to a gov.uk website where you can apply on that website. So, okay, so what is the link for the training? Christian says it's at the bottom. If you have a look at the bottom of the page where it says join now, you've got the link there. Scott says, quick question, I've had a look at the current deals. I've noticed that you have the addresses of the properties. What contracts do you have in place to stop, avoid another source going to the agent or trying to sell it to themselves? Hope that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely, Scott. We've got exclusivity on all the stock that we've got. Otherwise, it'd be crazy for me to put it on there for everyone to see. For everyone to see. Mr. Hussain says, are you still looking for sources for your property portal? Absolutely. That's why we've created the Elite Property Tribe. If you're an investor and want to see deals, can this be achieved by joining? If you are an investor and want to see deals, can this be achieved by joining the EPT? Michael, the whole point of the EPT is to teach you how to become a deal sourcer. As a result of becoming a deal sourcer, you're going to be able to source your own deals. So you don't need to see someone else's deals. You'll see your own deals. Ergun says, what is meant by a package deal? A package deal is a deal that has been sourced, appraised, and put together in a package ready to sell on to an investor. Right, okay, so let's have a quick look. Let's go through. So, okay, so what is the, let's just have a quick look. Okay, so George says, after 52 weeks, are we still going to be a member of all the different platforms, i.e. Facebook and WhatsApp group? George, the second year is a cost of £300, which just barely covers the admin of the platform, etc. So you pay the £300 and obviously you'll be part of the platform, Facebook group, WhatsApp group and everything as if you are a fully fledged member. Let's just have a quick look. Okay, so AJ says, how long do you have to take exclusivity with the estate agent? Now, just so that you know, AJ, if you go to an estate agent and you say to them, guys, okay, I want exclusivity on the property, and you've not really built any rapport with them, they're going to tell you to get lost. Just purely because they're going to say, well, I don't care who AJ is, I don't know who AJ is, and as a result, the reason why I don't know who AJ is, and therefore there's no reason for me to give exclusivity. You know, if you go there and ask for 3 months, they're definitely going to tell you to get lost. Sometimes even working for exclusivity for 24 to 48 hours could really work. But again, this all comes down to you and how you negotiate the deal. Okay, so will you be available every day for my naive questions? Believe it or not, Baruch, I bet you I've heard every single question there is. Monday to Friday between 10 AM to 1 PM, I have a call booking system specifically for EPT members. And you book time in and you tell me what we're going to speak about so that I know exactly what we need to do. So for argument's sake, if you're talking to me about a deal, I want you to send me all the details of that deal beforehand so I can appraise it so that we're not wasting time on the call. I want the time on the call to be literally a case of, okay, I've seen the deal, this is what I think we need to do, blah, 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 and that's it, move forward with it. So I knew this question was, okay, can we deduct the EPT training from our tax bill? Yes, because it's an educational course, so therefore you can deduct it. It's a tax deductible course. Okay, sorry, one of the things that I forgot to say, and this is a really important point, as part of the EPT, you can actually come and book a day in the office with me as well. So Gillian says, Jay, can I come and spend a day in the office like Jay sourcing on the phone? Absolutely. So what you do is you have to give me a couple of weeks notice in advance so that I can arrange it in my diary. So you can come and spend the day in the office with me, and I urge all EPT members to come and spend the day in the office with me because that's where the real learning happens. How many members are we, roughly? In all in the EPT, so far there's 208 members, but you've got to remember that's been working over about 5 years. Is there a live session or is it all going to be online? So George, 52 webinars online and 4 live sessions, plus you have the opportunity to come and spend time with me in the office. Okay, so is the Property Investors app only for Tribe members? No, believe it or not, Tyrone, the Property Investors app is for all and sundry, but the Tribe members get priority over what deals go on there. Where am I located? I'm actually based in Wolverhampton in the West Midlands, just past Birmingham. Hassan says, how much can you sell a deal for? We sell the deal. It varies according to the property. It depends on the discount. It depends on the cash flow. It depends on the angle. It depends on the value that you've had it for. Okay, so B says, what's the cutoff day for joining the EPT? Just so that you know, we're starting the webinars on the first Monday of February, but just so you know, once we get to 30 members, we'll start to close it off. We'll start to close it off. Okay, so the sooner you join beta, the better. Not only that, beta, as soon as you join, we'll add you into the WhatsApp group, the Facebook group, and also onto the platform that you can start learning straight away. Okay, so Mitch says, on average, how many deals do your trainees make in the first year? Just so that you know, Mitch, it's a great question, because believe it or not, lots of people in the EPT actually join the EPT to learn how to source for their own stock. Now, there's some people that literally just want to source and sell everything. There's other people that want to source for their own portfolio, which means that I've got this one guy that sourced 15 rent-to-rent deals. I've got guys that I'll be sharing over the next few weeks on emails. They've done rent-to-rent deals, and these are in London. And so as a result, there's depends on what you want to do. It depends on how you interpret the information, how you implement the information, and that's key to it as well. So as an EPT, can we use your solicitors, but is the contract still paid separately? So just so you know, Chloe, what we will do is I will be recommending all the solicitors that are solicitors, accountants, tax advisors, everyone that you need to be using. Obviously, I don't pay for them. That's obviously your cost. But I'll be just telling you the best people to use to make sure that deals go through and everything happens swiftly. Your current members, what is the average sales would you expect per month? Sorry, Joe, sorry, I don't understand the question. On average, we do around 2 to 3 deals a day. So we try and aim between 10 to 15 a week. So just so you know, in 2020, I want to turn that up to 40 a week. Like I said, in line with my goals. How do you estimate refurbs cost to get offers to agents, vendors? That's something that I teach you. It's not something that I can talk to you about within 5 minutes on there. So Roger says, is there a cooling off period for the EPT? So what we do, Roger, is we get you into the EPT. If you want to have a look around the platform, etc., we'll give you 7 days to have a little wander around and go from there. Okay, so Beta says the cost is it's all inclusive, and go from there. If you're sourcing solely for your own, do you still need to be compliant? Believe it or not, it's a grey area. I would say yes, other people say no, but for the purpose of the cost, I would be protected and say yes. Okay, so Baruch says, I don't have WhatsApp, believe it or not. Is it a must? To get the full advantage of the group, it would be good, but it's not a be all or end all if you don't, because we still have Facebook, we still have the weekly webinars, and we still have the 4 live meets. So it would be good for you to have WhatsApp. So it's very easy to set up. Okay, aside from the course costs, what other costs do we need to consider? There's no marketing costs. I don't put out any cost for marketing unless you want to start setting out letters and leaflets. That's completely up to you. I would suggest setting up a one-page website, which will cost you a couple of £100, but other than that, very little. Does that make sense? Tyrone says, I'm a deal sourcer. How would I go about advertising your deals on my deals on your platform? Send us the deals to deals@propertyinvestorapp.co.uk and we'll have a look at it, and make sure you put your contact details on there. Right, okay. Whew, that was a lot of questions. I think I've pretty much covered everything. I think I've covered every single question. Wow, okay. Okay, so George says, I get deals, but all the agents keep saying no. How can I make them say yes? This is my final question. Great question, and a great question to finish on. Absolutely. Right, okay. George, they don't understand what you're offering. If I'm going to put it bluntly, They don't understand what you're offering. They don't know what you're all about. They haven't understood what you're all about. So what you've got to do, you've got to literally, I don't know what you're saying to them. So I'm just assuming that you'll go there, you're saying that you've got an investor, or you work as part of a consortium, which is some of the common stuff that people say. But believe it or not, what they're assuming is that you're going to cut them out of the deal. You haven't told them how they're going to win from that deal. You've got to make sure that everyone understands. You've got to understand. You've got to make sure that they understand how everyone wins from that deal. How is the agent being paid? How are you being paid? Because if you're saying that you're going to take a percentage of their fee, guess what? They're going to say, George, you know what? We've been doing this 30 years. Why do I need you? You're a one-man band. Connells is a multi-branch national agency. Why do I need George? So you've got to think about this logically. Why do they need you? How are you going to benefit? How are you going to make an impact on their agency? Positive one or negative one? If it's negative, they're not going to work with you. If it's positive, you've got a chance. So from what I've heard, from what you've said, I don't think you've put it across in the correct manner. And apologies if that comes across in a negative manner, but it's not. But from the question and the way that you put it across, I could kind of understand how they're thinking. Now, final question, what was the email to contact you to sell deals? So you can send it to deals, DEALS, at Property Investor App. So propertyinvestorapp.co.uk. As an Elite Property Tribe member, you can use the leverage of the Property Investor App to negotiate deals with vendors, and you can become the go-to person in your area. And then finally, if you've got any questions, feel free to give us a call. Feel free to send me an email. So you've got my office number there, which is 773940, Wolverhampton code, or arsh@arshellahi.com, or you can go to elitepropertycircle.co.uk, or you can go to the web addresses that I've put on the links at the bottom there. So hopefully you've enjoyed the session. Hopefully, you know, we've been on a long time, been on pretty much nearly 2 hours. If you've got any questions, feel free to get in touch, and then let's speak and let's see what we can do, and let's get you kickstart. Let's get you started in 2020 the way that you'd like to do. So Gillian says, are you interested in derelict properties? Absolutely. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we? So Bruce says, again, the number, if you look on the screen, it's 01902 773940. But obviously, we're open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. 01902 773940. So, guys, on that note, I wish you all a great evening. I look forward to working with you on the Elite Property Tribe. If you're not coming on board, I wish you every success, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take care. Good night and God bless.